Who put the picture?
Over to Broadway.
Well, I knew you were going to make it with Daddy. That's why I just got a head start.
Very long to get.
So it's really easy. You're doubly set. Get it right. I have a pocket in here.
I think the one touch each other, and we can't do touch. Yeah. Your cousin. Yes, they're your cousin. You literally texted me. You literally texted me.
Las Vegas, and Parkland. In the last 2 years, these places and many more were all touched by gun violence. In total, What preventative measures have been taken to try to curb this violence? As of now, the federal and state government has done virtually nothing. The presence of a gun turns an abusive relationship fatal, as women in that relationship are 5 times more likely to be married by their murdered.
They have no money, but they're really good at social media. They'll get you crap anyway. Because they're really good at getting
Va acheter des choses qui sont
can't even get it up.
What did that say?
Where are you going? Where are you going? I only tapped her head like 15 times before he turned around. He was like, I really was like, this is my brother, Jenny.
Hi, brother. What's your name?
Little
No more. Justice. I'll keep the show. Photo bomb. Yay!
People are gonna not be happy. We're just going
Basically, they need to be done by someone with like. Well, you know, so funny. That's right. She's like, she didn't want one. There you go. All right.
I know over here.
Okay, let's make sure they don't.
Don't fall back. Yeah, I know.
Sin problema. No, you're young and just don't. If you want extra.
When I was in second grade, all the way to fifth grade, I used to be ashamed of my dark skin. I didn't like being as dark as I was, and I felt like I was bad with color. However, I didn't just wake up one day and complain about my complexion.
When you have lighter skin, you most likely not have kinky hair, or you might have lighter eyes, and that is what is considered to make you beautiful. Both the media and our culture continue to reinforce a system based on white supremacy. The main reason why both slavery and segregation existed is because black people were darker than white people, which somehow meant that they were not as good as them. They made these stereotypes to feel as though they had more power than black people. In today's society, most people have realized that black people are just as capable as white people. That one day, right there in Alabama, little black boys and little black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and little black girls as brothers and sisters. We have come such a long way, but we have to keep going to fulfill his dream. If he didn't like segregation, then he wouldn't like discrimination based on how dark you were either.
However, unjust relocation wasn't just a part of our past. It remains prevalent today, and we must develop plans of action to stop it. A third were Irish immigrants. This is key because, at this time, Irish people weren't considered white. And if you weren't white, you didn't have much social power. And if you didn't have social power, you wouldn't have the opportunity to get a job. Jobs give you money and economic power, a very important thing to have. The city wanted a park, and they saw Seneca Village as an unimportant community. In 1851, Seneca Village was demolished to make Central Park. It was destroyed by eminent domain, a legal process where the landowners get money from the government to build a public project, such as a park, highway, or railroad. Since the people in the community had little economic or legal power due to their race, they were targeted. To find an affordable house, they will want and sometimes need to stay there. When they get kicked out, it takes a very long time to find other reasonably priced housing. By taking real estate, the university created fewer housing options, which had a rent increase for the surrounding areas. Frederick Douglass never did, and it never will. The way to increase our power is to organize. When people organize, their collective power is enough to change the government. This is especially true when people with little to no social power gather together and make a stand, or are in the process of getting evicted. These outages happen all throughout the U.S., even today. However, the problem with that strategy is that the lawyers cost money, and money is something that not everybody has. There are public defenders, housing attorneys, and legal services that you do not have to pay for. Housing Rights Initiative is an organization where they help people find affordable housing. Poor people, especially people of color, are subject to being forced from their homes at greater rates than white people.
Because injustice is running in the veins of America. Present-day America is still reliant on unjust systems. Time may have passed, but the long-term effects of slavery, Native American genocide, and many atrocities are still in full effect. To move forward, our country needs to create new systems that don't exploit the marginalized in order to make it as useless. So why is this philosophy not applied to the way America treats minorities? Why do we continuously disempower entire races of people? In 1492, Columbus sailed to what he thought was India. In actuality, he was in the Caribbean. When people are taught about Columbus, the word discover is usually somewhere within that lesson. And celebrations in their name is glorified for getting lost. However, getting lost is only one part of the larger issue that is Columbus Day. According to the news website Vox, arguably the most egregious myth is that Columbus discovered America and did so peacefully. The arrival of Columbus and his men ushered an era of enslavement, disease, and destruction that resulted in mass deaths of the native people on the island. Columbus' income on reservations was 68% below the U.S. average. This means that Native Americans living on reservations usually lived below the poverty line. Why is there such an extreme difference in the median household income of Native Americans in comparison to the larger U.S. population? Why does this country treat Native Americans so terribly? This atrocious treatment is part of a cycle of disempowerment. Why is Andrew Jackson's Indian Removal Act of 1830 similar to current Native people being displaced for the building of oil pipelines? There is an obvious pattern of oppression here, yet holidays like Columbus Day glorify the perpetrator rather than the victim. It turns out Columbus Day was almost established by default. According to Vox, as the U.S. fought the British for their independence, they needed a heroic symbol, and Columbus fit the bill. Basically, as the U.S. struggled to obtain freedom from colonial rule, they turned to a motivational story of American opportunity, which reflects a fundamental part of our U.S. democracy.
Many men also have problems with feminism, viewing it as a movement based on the idea that men human rights or something like that. Ngozi responds, because that would be dishonest, centers around women. This makes men are being systematically oppressed through history and now they want to make in the world. These young people are going to be the next leaders of our world, and what they learn here is going to impact the kind of leaders they end up being. Columbia teaches courses on feminism, women's rights, and is working to prevent sexual assault on their campus. Despite all that, I hear women saying they don't need feminism. How should we expect them to fight for change alongside us? Because the truth is, if we are not all feminists, we will never reach gender equality. If we do not all, men, women, and genderqueer people alike, see it as our responsibility to fight for equal rights for women, then we will never get there.
Although it is working for higher education, it isn't working for the good of local communities. So who is it good for? Does it fulfill the vision of MLK and the Fair Housing Act?
It does a societal habit of finger pointing that is unproductive. We're all from a wide range of political views can respectfully disagree on. The Can We Talk program has ground rules for civil discourse that we can all learn from. Rule number 1, listen to others with an open mind. Rule number 2, make room for everyone to speak. Don't try and shut up. If we observe the rules above, we will have an easier time solving the problems being discussed in today's march. For example, if we listen to others with an open mind, we will be open to new and potentially useful ideas for the problems we're all facing. Listening to others is a key part of democracy. Most of all, I want to address
that night because his life depended on it. What was his crime? It was simply being Jewish. So, Hunt's boarded a train with him. We're not here to dwell on the past, but to address the actions of anti-Semitism that still occur to this day and talk about what we can do to stop them, decided after the Holocaust. However, today, there are still many hate crimes against Jewish people. According to the Jewish Virtual Life, now I end on this note, as said by Martin Luther King Jr., darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. We need people to stand up for Jewish human rights and all other human rights. We cannot hate the people who committed these crimes, and we can bring in a new horizon of not just hope, but action. We need to march forward towards justice, not backwards.
Years of radical protest, such as the women's suffrage movement and the New York abortion speakout in 1969. Just having the basic right to love and marry the person of your choice, or not marry at all, is a fairly new concept for women in our society. Our generation takes these rights for granted, and most don't realize the hardships endured to get to this place. Though women have been fighting for equal rights, limited access to health care. In some states, restrictions make it almost impossible for women to have abortions. According to an article in the New York Times, here's what it takes to as we honor him today, I want to say that he has not only inspired this march, but has helped us to realize that a person's race and gender doesn't make them superior to anyone else. As we stand in the memorial of Joan of Arc,
the United States is home to 5% of the world's population, but holds 25% of its prisoners. That's 1 in 4 of the world's incarcerated people housed just in America. With this many incarcerated people concentrated in one country, one will wonder, are we a nation of criminals? If you ask anyone what the purpose of prison should be, they would likely say it is to take people who have broken the rules and make them serve their time so they can come out as thriving citizens. That, however, is not true. In the United States, the rate of incarcerated people has gone up almost 10 times of what it was a few years ago. And yet, according to a study by the NYU School of Law, the crime rate has barely gone down. So why are there more and more people being incarcerated every year? One answer is private prison. Makes getting them into them near impossible. CCA-owned private prisons get paid per inmate, so they sneak occupancy clauses into their contracts, meaning states are required to keep the number of incarcerated people prison.
Sometimes the soup kitchen is closed and we stay without eating because we can't buy any. These are words of an 11-year-old girl named Melissa. These are words that should never come out of an 11-year-old's mouth. She said this while also living in a 3-room apartment with 10 other people. She is just one out of 1 billion kids in the world living in poverty. 18% of all children in the world live in poverty. After a person is released from prison, only 55% of these have any reported jail diversion program, giving second-time offenders the tools they need to prevent them from returning to jail. Instead of a guilty plea, New Start Special Service Program helps the offender deal with their problem.
For sticking around. Thank you. I think it's really important that it's great that we have an audience, and with the last 5 speeches, we could, I know I'm hearing some conversations. If you could really try. Next speaker is Io. So let's see Io.
Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "You can apply for a gunpowder permit and allow a police officer to inspect your gun storage. When other countries make strong laws like this, it becomes less likely for mass shootings to happen. We know that other countries, in response to one mass shooting, have been able to craft laws more deadly more often when there is a gun. Gun violence is a huge issue in America. It affects our schools, restaurants, bars, churches, and synagogues, and increase suicide attempts and can make domestic violence escalate. Gun violence isn't just about the victims. Everyone involved in the victim's life is forced to suffer.
Sidewalks. I stand here outside of Morningside Park, a public park. Be that as it may, everything else is made of concrete. I used to wonder why this city is known as the concrete jungle. Possibly on the grounds that it took a ridiculous measure of urbanization and deforestation, and obviously concrete, to make what we're standing on today. Urbanization is the way toward making a territory increase. The world will run out of oil in 2030 and other fossil fuels in 2050, says Paul Ehrlich. 200 billion tons of carbon into the atmosphere in the coming decades. Thus, what I need to leave you off with are a few arrangements we can stop or possibly slow down environmental change and habitat destruction. One is to change to a sustainable power, wind, solar, geothermal, nuclear, and decrease flow.
than 2.3 million individuals incarcerated in the U.S., most without a high school diploma. A high correlation exists between the level of education attained by an incarcerated person and their recidivism rate, according to the Prison Studies Project. Recidivism is the rate in which inmates return to prison after being released. When in prison, one cannot support their family. This can lead them to a lower income. Utilizing education programs will help prevent people from going back to. Here at MCS, we have a large community full of supportive and caring people. He said he had little hope in himself, according to an article about people who moved from being in prison to influential professionals. It continues, but when he began meeting children,
believe that every race has the same rights and is viewed equally. However, subtle changes are being made to laws and policies that seem racially motivated. These changes go unnoticed because so few news outlets are choosing to report about them. Is African American and Latino/Latinx, with most of them in Harlem. All of us should be equal, but some groups are treated in a way that makes them feel different. This has serious effects on the health and well-being of the population. Burning these sandals make. Things like this happen every day.
The foundation of our country's laws and principles. Even though you most likely know it, listen carefully to the words. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general. She battled this legally for almost a year, but finally surrendered her rights so her children's foster parents could adopt them, and in doing so, permanently lost her own children. This can happen to anyone. It could have happened to my mother or my grandmother, and the rest. That is why it is in our hands to protect the people affected by Obama's racism. Too late for women to walk down the street and have fear. 2019 is too late.
Thank you to the MCS Kitchen for preparing the snacks that you are about to eat in the back. Thank you to MCS.
And also a few other quick thank yous. Nancy Sue, the parent coordinator, did a lot to get this together. Amanda and Emily in the kitchen. Maya really did a lot of work in terms of contacting organizations. And